I'm Sarah McCrae-Smith. I'm a school psychologist here in Westerville. I've been doing this for about 18 years, and I've worked in lots of Westerville's buildings. Currently, I'm the school psychologist at Westerville South. And as we talk about this today, you'll realize I'm very passionate about these things. And I have 2 children of my own that struggle with this. So it's been partial professional and partial as a parent to learn as much as I can to help my kids navigate school. Executive functioning is what we're going to talk a lot about today. And that's a big buzzword right now. And you'll hear it in a lot of different settings. And this is one of the definitions that I found. It is a set of processes that have to do with managing oneself and one's resources in order to achieve a goal. It's an umbrella term for mental control, self-regulation, and doing what you need to do. So it has the cognitive part, where your brain is working. That's a big piece of this. How does a student plan and prioritize? How do they organize? The time management involved. How do they start a task? How do they remember what to do? How do they go back when they're done and try to fix any mistakes they have? So that is all the brain's inner workings related to this. Then there's the behavioral side, emotional self-control, attention and focus, flexibility, and perseverance. So we're going to talk a lot about each of these today as we go through our conversation. And I'll use executive functioning a lot, and I'm talking about all of this stuff when I talk about that. Here's a cute little diagram I got at a workshop last year that goes through each one of them and has a little cartoon that goes with it. And when you're talking about younger kids, this is a good way to work on some of those things. Teaching them to control their emotions, teaching them how to shift, teaching them how to start something even when they don't want to. So we have a lot of cutesy ideas here that go with that. We're going to watch a video about Josh. And Josh is just like my son was. He's a 6th grader and can't seem to get all the pieces together. So we're going to watch this video about Josh and a day in the life of a child with some serious executive functioning struggles.
Meet Josh. Josh is a 6th grade student who has executive functioning issues. Executive functions work together to help the brain organize and act on information. Watch Josh's day to see what some of our own students have to deal with. Think of executive functions as what the chief executive officer of a company must do: analyze, organize, decide, and execute. Around the time of puberty, the frontal part of the cortex of the brain matures, allowing individuals to perform these skills. Some students' brains may take longer to mature, meaning that these functions continue to pose difficulties to them. It's 7 a.m. Josh is about to leave the house. He knows he's forgetting something, but what is it? Ah, that's it. It's his cleats for his soccer game. He runs back in the house to grab them, but ends up forgetting his backpack while running to catch the bus. The executive functions present are organization and working memory. It's 11 a.m. and Josh is struggling in class. His teacher is asking questions about the previous night's homework that Josh didn't complete. He forgot to check Google Classroom or write any notes. The executive functions present are organizing and focusing. 12:10, lunchtime, Josh's favorite part of the day. During lunch, he talks too loud and tends to annoy his friends. He's been in the hall even though he's been asked 3 times to leave. The executive functions present are self-monitoring and controlling impulses. 12:50, Josh's teacher has explained the class's next task verbally and has written it down on the board. Josh is still having trouble getting started though, and his laptop is open when others are working. The teacher explains the expectations a second and third time to Josh before he actually starts. The executive functions present are shifting focus, setting priorities, and starting tasks. 7 o'clock. After a lot of pushing from his mom, Josh finally sits down to do homework, but he doesn't know where to start. Instead of doing his English chapter questions or Pearson homework due tomorrow, he surfs the web for a science topic that's due for his project next week. The executive functions present are setting priorities, starting tasks, and sustaining attention. 11:30 p.m. It's way past Josh's bedtime and he's exhausted. He tries to sleep, but he can't shut off his brain. He's worrying about disappointing his teachers because he never completes his homework, and he cannot follow what is going on in his classes. The executive functions present are regulating alertness and keeping emotions in check. It is extremely common for students that struggle with learning and attention issues to also have problems with executive functions. Executive functions are the brain's self-management system. Issues with executive functions can make it hard to complete schoolwork and everyday tasks. Differentiation and special accommodations can help make a difference to students like Josh. Meet Josh. Josh is a sixth grade student who has
All right. So I think all of us know a Josh. And one thing that this video does not contain is the pandemic and the students being at home. That could be a whole nother minute or 2-minute video about the challenges of that. So that showed the struggles that we see in a normal time. And we know right now things are not normal. So the executive functioning challenges that students are facing has gone up exponentially. So we're going to talk about that today. I want to give you some ideas of things you can do to support your child during the remote week and or if they're virtual all the time, to support them at home anytime they're at home. And this is not necessarily something that is new, but with the pandemic, it is definitely exacerbated. So students that have these difficulties and people, it's not just children. If it's a diagnosed condition, it goes hand in hand with autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's. It's definitely one of the first things we see in people experiencing symptoms of Alzheimer's is that executive functioning. They don't remember how to do all the pieces of the puzzle like they maybe previously did. People diagnosed with Tourette syndrome and traumatic brain injury, and that's just to list a few. Now, those are diagnosed clinical kinds of things. But on the other side, let's talk about some of the temporary causes: exhaustion, pain, stress, distractions, drug and alcohol use. And the last one, the stress of this pandemic, the changing of schedules, the interruptions, and the loneliness. Those kinds of things are increasing the difficulties our kids have with executive functioning. That stress piece, that's a whole nother session that's going on through Parent Prep, and they can really help talk about that specifically. But we do know that it's there and we want to support you in any way we can. So on this one, full cognitive and emotional development is not done until a person is 25 to 30 years old. So we're asking a lot of our kids to be able to do some of these things independently and during such a stressful time. But sometimes we expect our teenagers, especially, to be able to do these things. They look like adults. They want to be treated like adults, but that frontal part of their brain is not developed enough to make the kinds of decisions that we are asking of them. I don't have my magic fairy wand to make that happen. I wish I did, but that's just something we'll have to keep working on. When will they be independent? Your hope is definitely 25 to 30, but we can do little bits of that, and we have to teach it to them along the way. And it really starts when they're preschool age, and we're going to go from there and talk about all the different strategies that we can do throughout that development. I meet with parents of struggling learners, and I have when I worked in elementaries, middle schools, and now at the high school. Number one concern is organization and planning. One thing we need to worry about while they're home is the organization of space more than ever. This has always been an issue, but we think about the kids that are home all day trying to get work done. They need to have some sort of organized workstation. Working from their bed, bad idea. Working in front of the TV is a bad idea. Sometimes you don't have a lot of options, but I would really try to stay away from the bed itself. It's better if it can be a separate and quiet space, good lighting, good seating, access to materials, folders for assignments. I know some parents during this pandemic time have kind of turned their house into makeshift school rooms so they could have all the supplies they need. If you need any supplies, let us know. We can help you with that too. We understand that kids need to have these things in order to be successful. Got to clean out the backpack. Now we're not using lockers at middle school and high school, and the kids are carrying the backpack. Those are getting full of stuff. go through the papers, organize them. The hard part here I see a lot of times are parents trying to do the organization for the students. And what we have to keep in mind is that it's important that we let them do what works for them. What works for me does not work for my kids. And that's something you kind of have to give up on. And you have to let them figure out how that works for them. Do they like a trapper keeper? Do they like individual folders? Do they want a 3-ring binder? Do they need the dividers and loose leaf paper? Organizing homework and using a planner. If anyone's ever been in a meeting with me, you know that this is a big deal to me. The students who are successful write down their assignments and keep track of them, whether it is in an online tool or an app of some sort, or if they're literally using a paper and pencil calendar. Some students like a to-do list and they just have a running list of things. Whatever they need to do, they have to kind of own that. And that's part of what we'll talk about today. We can come up with a whole lot of ideas for our kids, but it has to be something that they're willing to do. Here's an example. This family made a dry erase board chart so that they have the things their child needs to do during the week, maybe if they're not home or they have to do their own job in another room of the house. I know the kids home by themselves is a real struggle, but having something like this, you call them on your break, you call them at lunchtime. Where are we at with this chart? Where, it's Tuesday. Have you done your spelling yet? And you start to kind of talk that through with them. I know a lot of parents having big concerns with just getting started. Their kids do not want to do it. And here are some ideas to work on that. I'm a big advocate of using timers. I use timers all day in my job, so I remember what I have to do, keep myself on track. I have a timer built into my calendar to send me alerts. I use the timers on my phone. If you're at home, you usually have a microwave or a kitchen timer. And then a visual timer. If you Google visual timers, there are free graphics that you can see, and it shows the timer actually happening. And you can pick different modes for that. Some are calming, some are an hourglass, and you're seeing the sand come through. Another way to work on that initiation and getting kids started is to follow a routine. Every day, same routine, try to keep that consistency. It really will help them do that. Having checklists. Having a homework checklist, a morning checklist, out the door checklist, after school checklist. At the beginning, it is totally a lot. You're talking through a checklist, reminding them to look at the checklist, reminding them to follow through with it. But eventually you fade those out. Maybe you don't have to have one for morning and out the door. You could put those together. Sometimes the homework and after school become one. And eventually you hope that the independence is that your child's making their own checklists by using the planner and the agenda. Every student in Westerville has their own Google account. And within that Google account is the Google Calendar. The Google Calendar, it can sync right to the Google Calendar app on your phone. So the kids, especially those middle school and high schoolers that have their own devices, could use that. But kids who have the school Chromebooks can also access that on their account. I really think that it's the easiest way for our kids to access what they need. They can get on PowerSchool, Schoology, and their calendar all from their handheld device. The last piece of the initiation is using rewards. This is what we do in classrooms all the time. We have the kids set goals, earn stars, get a reward. They learn how to graph doing that. You do have to have the buy-in from your child to make that work, but it's traditional behavior modification kinds of things. You know your kids, you know what works. We do know rewards work better than punishments, and those are just some ideas for that. So this is a similar schedule to what we made for my daughter. She's a freshman here in Westerville, and when she was on remote instruction at the beginning of the year, this was what her day looked like. We did let her sleep in a little bit because she wasn't necessarily in school. She did this schedule each day. We had it posted in the kitchen. We had it posted in the office. And some parents are not home to be able to follow through with this. I'm not home with her, but I can call her sometimes between my tasks. Hey, are you up working on science? What do you have to do today in English? Some of those reminders to help keep her in line. So when we're talking about homework, these are my best advice to keep up with that. Do it early. If we wait until the latest part of the day, we're all too tired for that. I think if we have a snack after school and get started, and I'm talking through high school, they're done so early, they don't need to wait till 9 o'clock to start their homework. Come home, let your mind down for a little bit, have something to eat, but definitely within that first hour, get it going while it's still good in your mind. Making sure they have the space they need, like I talked about earlier. Positive feedback. They really need that from you guys. They want to know how things are going. Just tell them you're so proud of them for working on these things through this difficult time. Again, timers. This will probably come up on 5-6 slides because of how important that is. I'm as guilty as anyone. I take a break at home when I'm doing like typing a report. I pick up my phone, and an hour later, I've been on Facebook and Instagram and down the rabbit hole on that. So, I'm not saying kids aren't going to do that. I mean, I love YouTube and Netflix, but I do set timers. And there it is, Sarah, back to work. Divide and conquer. A lot of our kiddos see the immense amount of work that they need to do, and they just don't even know where to start. We have to kind of make those into smaller chunks for them. And some kids, it's better to do the easiest first. Some, it's better to do the easiest last. It depends on where your child is. If they hate something so bad, is it worth getting it over? Or is it something they want to do the easy stuff to ease their way into it? You have to know your kid, and you have to maybe let them make that decision. Like, we're going to do this writing activity one way or the other. Do we want to do it first? Do we want to do it last? Do we want to do it in the middle? But building out that plan. Having a call list, knowing some kids in your class that you can call is huge, especially middle school and high school. In elementary, a lot of times, another parent that you can call. Schoology, getting on Schoology is also an amazing resource for parents. If you log into PowerSchool, it is on the parent screen in the bottom left corner is your Schoology access, and you can link all of your students together in your house so you can see all of their Schoology accounts. That's another way to monitor what you need to do. So number 7 is validate feelings. During homework, we see a lot of emotions from kids. They get frustrated, you get frustrated. It's already later in the day, everyone's tired. Totally understand that. But sometimes you have to say, man, that really is a lot of algebra homework. Sorry, you have to do all of that work tonight, but maybe tomorrow if we started it earlier or if we break it up, their feelings are their feelings. So it really helps them to know that you care, you support them. Number 8. When my children were in elementary school, we used the car and we used wait time to the best of our ability. We're going to drive across town for an appointment. They can do their reading then. They can be talking through their homework. Use that time. Older brother or sisters at practice and you're sitting there waiting. Use that time. Have a little work bucket in the car of pencils and crayons and blank paper, things like that. 9 and 10 are the same on purpose, and they are just reading. Kids have got to keep reading, whether it is a textbook or school assignments or research, depending on what they're doing. But what we're seeing with the remote instruction is a teacher might have a whole assignment spelled out on Schoology, watch a video, listen to this short video by the teacher, do this worksheet, and they want to skip just to the worksheet. They don't want to read the text that's embedded in there, and they don't want to read a book. We're going to talk a little bit about some ways to help with that, but our students who read are our students who are our best achievers. Then journaling, last one. Keeping track each week, kind of journal how homework is going, what worked, what didn't. This day, we didn't start homework till 8 o'clock at night. We had meltdowns. This day, we did some before dinner, some after dinner. And you start to see some of those patterns of what works for your family. Remote learning. Time management. This has been a really big concern for a lot of our families. A great way to start with your student is to estimate time. Here's what we have to do. How long will it take you to do this piece? How long will it take for this? They need to kind of look at that over like a calendar, because generally they underestimate how long something's going to take, and then they're already frustrated. You really want to pace yourself to meet those big deadlines. Chunk into mini deadlines in a planner, and really start immediately. If you know there's something due next Friday, we know that we really should start the day it's assigned the next day and get a plan. Now, we're talking a lot about all the work students have to do. We also have to balance that with some leisure. We can't spend every minute of every day working, and we don't expect that of students right now. We don't expect that of teachers either. We have to have some balance for our work and our leisure. Prioritizing. A lot of times our students struggle with this. So they want to do, I want to research that project that's due next Friday and spend 3 hours on the internet looking at things, but they're not really doing any of the work. So we prioritize what really has to be done, when does it have to be done, and how long is it going to take? Setting goals. What are your child's goals? Is their goal to go to a 4-year university? Is their goal to get an A? Is their goal to be in the Junior Honor Society? Those are some great long-term goals. What are our short-term goals right now? They're to get certain grades, maybe on just weekly assignments or something they've struggled with, haven't been able to get that article of the week done. So our short-term goal would be to get 5 done this week that was assigned by the teacher. This is the biggest thing in the remote learning is minimizing distractions. Video games, phones, and tablets. We have to have limits on those. And the students really should respect that because they seem to want to get the work done. So we sometimes have to put the other things down. Homework, contracts, and rewards. We touched on this a little bit ago. You give them a short menu of reasonable weekly rewards, stickers, checks, not expensive things, right? You did it. Good job. You get a check mark today. Get so many check marks, you're going to earn something. You've got to negotiate the child buy-in. You want them to be successful at first, and then you're going to increase what your expectation of your child is. Fill out the daily homework planner. If your child can't do this by themselves, then you need to spend some time doing that. And I'll give you an example. My son was Josh in that video. 6th grade was just like that. Every day, tears, frustrated, not being very successful academically. And he did graduate from college in May of 2020 during the pandemic. And he is the kid with the t-shirt, C's get degrees, never overachieving. And as much as we battled about filling out the daily homework planner, he would do the work if someone else wrote it down. And honestly, through college, I still filled out his planner when he got a syllabus at the beginning of the quarter. I plugged those dates in for him. It took me an hour, no big deal. And he followed it. We got through it and we got done. Now by college, the reward was the diploma, but it still took a while to get there because I know in elementary school, we battled about that. So at what point did I decide it's not worth the fight? Let me help him with that. Once he had a phone, he was taking pictures of assignments. And now with using Schoology, it's really easy to get to that. Rewards and positive goals for next time. We didn't quite make it this week for our goal. Next time, let's do that. And then once your child is being successful, you start to fade that reward system. I understand that parents say, I don't want to bribe my child to do whatever. Sometimes we have to. If it works, I think you'll all be for the better. Projects, long-term projects. Some kids love them, some kids hate them. And for parents, it always seems to be a lot. I feel with you that. The number one thing I say with a long-term project is take a picture of the directions the day that the paper comes home, because the chances of losing that one paper that you're going to need while you work through it is going to be a big deal. Maybe you take a picture, you send it to your spouse, you send it to your child, it's posted in the office, on the refrigerator, so that we all know what we need to do. So on that first day, like I said on these things, get started. See if your child can tell you the directions of the project, the who, the what, the when. If they don't know, what do we do? This is something that's come up a lot in remote learning. Our kid doesn't know what to do, whether it's daily homework or whether it is long-term projects. What we're trying to encourage students to do is reach out and contact their teacher. Different teachers have different ways. Some use email as the best. There's Schoology, there's Remind. It depends what the teacher is using platform-wise the best way. But really, by middle school and high school, the child should be emailing the teacher directly. We're trying to teach that. It's a great skill for them to have. I don't know what to do, so you ask the question. Now on Schoology, some of the teachers have a Q&A section. That Q&A section answers a lot of questions if that's something that you're using. Planning out intermittent deadlines. We know a project is due a long time from now. Go ahead and put those down on paper. Write a plan in the student's calendar with time estimations, and then get a list of what materials you might need. Do you need a poster board? Do you need crayons? Do you need construction paper? Do you need pipe cleaners. Depending on what you're doing, make sure you have those materials. What can parents do to support the students? Well, some of these things have nothing to do with school, but we'll talk about the importance of them. Playing games, card games, board games. One of the best things we do there is teach our children how to problem solve and how not to be the winner. Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. That carries over into the classroom. Any kind of physical activities, games that require attention, fast-moving ball games, Simon Says, chores, song and dance, copy games is a good one for memory, singing, repeating, also quiet activities that do not involve a tablet in their face. Our kids need to be able to use free time to sit quietly, to read, to practice doing those things. That's some of that self-regulation that impacts their executive functioning. Mazes, word finds, guessing games, and I Spy. We'll go back to chores for a second. If your child doesn't have chores, I will tell you, I think they should. If they can, carry a laundry basket from their room to the laundry room, that's a chore. They maybe aren't doing the laundry, but they're getting them in the habit of following some step-by-step directions. I do not think your children should be your house cleaner, but on the same coin, on the other side of that coin, is them learning that step-by-step directions. That helps in the long run, them being able to plan, I want to go out and play. How do I get this done before I do what I want to do? Because that's really the situation we're in the remote learning scenario. I don't really want to do my homework, but do I have those skills to follow those step-by-step directions to get done what I need to do? When they start to get a little bit older, we build in more strategy-based card games, board games, organized sports, rec groups, jumping rope, song and dance, playing an instrument, dancing, again, quiet activities, brain teasers, crosswords, Sudoku. Those kinds of things are really good at getting them to think critically, use problem solving, and know how to regulate themselves. When they get a little bit older, it's super important that we're modeling some of these things for them. They see us get frustrated. How do we react in that situation? Setting goals. Middle school and high school kids need to start having small, short-term goals. We can help them by monitoring them and not believing them. I didn't put that on the slide, but sometimes they tell us their homework is done and it's not. You have to really monitor that. Listen to them. We talked about this earlier, the importance of them being heard, problem solve with them. They are frustrated. They're not understanding an assignment, or they're unhappy with a teacher doing some of those problem solving activities. Again, limit distractions, help them find motivation. Do they want to do something short-term? Do they want to do something long-term that can help motivate them? Try and remind them, ask the right questions. This is a big one when you're talking to your adolescents. Instead of saying, how was your day? How was school? Trying to ask some maybe deeper level questions. What are some things that didn't go great today? Maybe we can improve on tomorrow. And then you as a parent following through, helping them, sitting there with them. I know sometimes we think that they should be more independent, but they're really not quite there yet. This is what my daughter, who's a freshman, brought home this week. This is her project in English, and I just want to talk a little bit about it. All students have now received a new textbook to read for this class. Along with it was a 215-point project that's broken down into 43 small 5-point assignments that correlate to the 43 short stories in the book. This is a contract grade, meaning the grade will be determined by how many of these assignments the student completes. He goes on to explain the percentages of how that works and the grades, and they're due based on their cohort. This is the only work students will be working on while home for their remote week. The project has been given to all students. It's also posted in Schoology. I don't have an opinion one way or the other if this is a great assignment. I'm guessing he doesn't know either because, we're new to doing remote learning. However, everyone says on the first day it's assigned, I'm going to get that. I'm doing all 43 for the A+. So that's what I asked my daughter. How do you want to do this? Absolutely. She's going all the points. She wants to get them and she thinks she can. So we broke it down and tried to come up with the best plan for her to only do it on her remote time as of our current schedule. So she's going to do activities 1 through 3, Tuesday 4 through 6, all the way through till the due date of Monday, December 14th. We even had an editing / double checking day in there. And at first, she didn't love this. We talked it through. She looked at the calendar and realized there's no weekends on here. There's no time over Thanksgiving break on here, that it's just the times when she would be having to do schoolwork anyway. And wow, she said, that doesn't seem that bad. But at the beginning, slightly overwhelmed. Some kids would not even start until that, day before it's due or that weekend before it's due. This took me 5 minutes to break this down. She recorded these on her calendar. We had that buy-in. She wants that grade, and this is our plan. We'll see how it goes. So what you can do in this situation is the first part we just talked about, help with planning of the project. So on days 1 and 2, which is for me this coming Monday and Tuesday, I plan on there being a lot of increased support and a lot of encouragement. I want to see what she has done. I want to see those first 6 assignments done and know that she is kind of starting to be kind of, in a rhythm with that. So over the middle, I will fade out with just check-ins. How'd you get done today? How much more do we have to do? What went good? And then on those last few days, again, increase that support and encouragement. She's not a great speller, so I'll probably do some proofreading during that time. That's okay. We're allowed to help our kids. So if we follow that, I feel that we'll be successful. She'll be successful. I won't be mad. There'll be no tears. And we've all been in that situation where we are angry, frustrated, crying. It's Sunday night. It's due on Monday morning, and nobody wants to be there. This 5 minutes could have really impacted that. I'll let you know on December 14th. How to teach your kids self-regulation. Model it. That's the number one way. They do what they see us do as parents. Improve your self-regulation. So everything I'm going to talk about here is something that you both can do. Take a deep breath is the first one. Drink lots of water, pause. This is something that I didn't learn until I was an adult, how to stop and think before I said things. Got me in trouble sometimes. So you do that, you stop, you think, you visualize what you want the outcome to be. I know it sounds a little hokey, but I'm telling you, it really can help you feel better. Level with your child, look them in the eye, have a conversation with them, give them some empathy, and try to match their emotional tone. If they're sad, if they're frustrated, that's okay. You can talk that way. It's all right to be sad and frustrated. Give them time, and the most important is let them play. Sustained attention strategies. This is some things that we do with students at school. List the 5 biggest distractors that you have. Let's brainstorm those. What are they? Sometimes seeing them written down. They self-identify. It's my phone. It's my video games. It's my, it's things they're doing that, as a school person, I can't stop that. But sometimes just that recognition is helpful. Play Simon Says. It's an amazing attention game. Little kids love to play Simon Says, and so do big kids when you get a group of them together. It's fun when you mess up, but it really does start to train your brain to be able to sustain even when there are distractors. How do you pay attention? Sometimes our kids need to fidget. Sometimes they need to doodle, take notes, take short breaks. A difficult thing for some students is shifting. So we're requiring this much attention for this amount of time. Well, then we got to switch and do something else. Sometimes they need time between those. That's a good time for a break when you're shifting activities. I'm going to talk for a minute about Google Read and Write. It is like my favorite tool in all of education because I have a daughter that's a struggling reader. She doesn't love to read. I try to make her read every day. Right now we're reading just to survive and get through all of our classes, right? Google Read and Write is this purple puzzle piece that says RW on it. Once your student logs into their student accounts, there's always this in the upper right corner, and it can be used for word prediction, read aloud. It has a dictionary, a translator. You can highlight and take notes, speech to text. It has an audio maker, and I think they even have updated more and more different features that Google Read and Write has. So we are going to watch a video about Google Read and Write, and here you go.
Hi there. Today we're going to see how Read and Write can help when you're using Google Docs or just browsing the internet. Okay, let's start by seeing what we can do in Google Docs. Here's the purple Read and Write icon at the top of your screen. Click on it and this toolbar appears. First of all, let's read some text out loud. Put the cursor anywhere you want. Click play and it starts reading like this.
Honey is a kind of sugary syrup.
And you can stop at any time. Pick a word, like this, and use the dictionary to explain what it means. And there's a picture dictionary right here too. Click on the prediction icon, and Read and Write will help you by guessing words that you're typing. Put your mouse over the suggested word to hear it read aloud.
Insects.
If that's the word you're looking for, click to insert it. Click here near the right of the toolbar to change settings if you want to. There are lots of different reading voices to choose from. And you can change reading speed if it's too fast or slow. You can hide the toolbar anytime you don't need it by clicking on the Read and Write icon again. Okay, Read and Write isn't just for Google Docs. You can use it when you're browsing web pages with Google Chrome too. Click the Read and Write logo in the address bar, right here, and the toolbar pops up. Most features are pretty Hi there. Today we're going to see how
There we go. Okay, so this is a quick reference guide from the people at Google Read and Write that shows you exactly the things that it can do. I'll hear my daughter up in her room and I think she's talking on her phone and she's doing the text to speech. She definitely has some dyslexic characteristics and struggles with getting that writing piece down, but she has a beautiful vocabulary. So she's up there just recording her voice and it goes right onto a Google sheet. The talking dictionary, picture dictionary for the young guys, word prediction, fact finder. It can really help when you're reading an article. You can highlight text in different colors. It really has some features that benefit students and help with that, bridge that gap for our kids that are not with us right now. Reading lists. I went to a conference last February, right before COVID, and I got to see Peg Dawson speak. She writes the series Smart But Scattered, and that's what these kiddos are. They are smart. We know they should be doing well in school, but they're so scattered, they cannot put all the pieces together. She did an amazing workshop for us, gave me a lot of these ideas. I'm also working with teachers on the other side to help them be better with their executive functioning. When you look at some teachers, that's the best part of them. They're teaching our kids those executive functions that help them forever. Not that content isn't important, but some of the teachers that's their natural way of instruction, it benefits our kids a lot. So I'm trying to help the ones that maybe it doesn't come as easily for, how to get that content across and support executive functioning. Late, Lost, and Unprepared is another great author. And then The Organized Student. Those are some great outside reading tools for you guys. This is my favorite. This is the desk flipping, I'm so angry. This happens to all of us. This happens to us as adults. It happens to our kids. We get so frustrated. There's so much going on. The expectations of everyone, parents has gone up, teachers has gone up, and for kids, it's gone up exponentially. The last piece to help you not be there is to add some self-mindfulness right there for yourself. I know some people think this stuff sounds hokey, but it really does work. And it can be done anywhere, anytime, and free. You can meditate, be in the moment, pay attention, take pause, breathe. Yoga, I'm a big fan of yoga. It's very expensive, but YouTube has a million free videos you can watch. Try to be flexible, compassionate, and practice gratitude. Those things help get you in the right mindset so that you can do the tasks that are asked of you. And we are using those in a lot of our schools, and the success with it really has been life-changing for some of our students. That brings us to the end. That was about 42 minutes. A special thank you to the Westerville Education Challenge and Parent Council for their support with this parent prep program in our second year. Please take a few minutes when you can to complete the survey from this last slide. You just scan it. The session will likely end in the next couple minutes. If you have questions, put those in the Q&A, and we'll turn on the music in a couple more minutes. So this person asked, what can I do? Help slide. Let me go back to that. There were a couple what can I do slides. 3rd through 5th would be this one. Games, physical activities, organized sports, jump rope, song and dance, instruments, dancing, quiet activities, brain teasers. There you go. Any other questions before we go back to our last slide? So you guys can give me my survey information. I hope this was helpful. You can always contact me. I'm on the Westerville directory, Sarah McCrae Smith. When you said reach out if you need materials, can you expand on that? I guess that would depend on, what you might need. If you're unable to provide your child with, say, notebooks or folders or the things they need to get organized, we do have resources of the school that can help us sometimes if a student is in need for those kinds of things. Good question. Anything else? All right, thank you.